Fight over the Patriot Act and whether opposition from Senator Rand Paul and his supporters may leave America at risk. Last week, the senator mounted an 11-hour sort of filibuster over the intelligence bill, arguing it gives the feds too much power to collect personal data. Then he stymied another push on the bill on Saturday. He has since been attacked by everyone from the White House to Republicans like Chris Christie, who believe he is endangering the public here. Earlier, I sat down with Senator Paul, now a GOP contender for president, along with his wife, Kelly. She also has her own book out. Hers is called True and Constant Friends. Senator Rand Paul's new book is out right now. It's called Taking a Stand, Moving Beyond Partisan Politics to Unite America. We spoke at length about the NSA program. And that is your issue. I mean, you've been the standard bearer on opposing some of these things that the Patriot Act allows. And yet your critics accuse you of overstating the case. For example, one of the things that you said was that the NSA is spying on all your phone calls. And you know, that's not true. And it doesn't have cell phone data in almost any case.
Well, it's actually not what I've said. I've been saying the NSA is collecting all of your phone records. And by connecting the dots of your phone records, they've determined they can determine your religion 85% of the time, who your physician is most of the time, what medicines you have. They can even tell when you go to the doctor, by inference, maybe what kind of procedures you're having at your doctor's office.
No, the Wall Street Journal had a report that said that the NSA is collecting records of at most 20% of U.S. calls. And in general, they do not look at cell phone records.
Right. The interesting thing is 2 Stanford students put apps voluntarily on phones for 500 people and just looked at their metadata. But then they tried to deduce through other means from just the phone records. And they could tell most of the time what your religion was, who your doctor was, what doctor you were going to see, what kind of diseases you had, and even what kind of procedures you had.
But that's not how this program works. This program, and this is what the critics outline. They say that you get no names, you get no addresses, no personal identifying information, that the NSA doesn't even know you exist. They just have phone numbers and only look further into that phone number if a terrorist calls the number.
Right. But our founding fathers didn't like the idea of general warrants, warrants that didn't have a specific name on, that were not individualized, that didn't have any suggestion of suspicion, and that weren't signed by an independent judge. That's what the Fourth Amendment's about. And so when we have one warrant and the name on it says Verizon, and then they collect all of the information from all of the Americans who have phone records at Verizon, it doesn't really seem to be consistent with the Fourth Amendment because it's not individualized. There wasn't suspicion. And I actually, frankly, think it makes us less safe.
But they can't even access that data unless something suspicious happens. A terrorist calls them. And
what
people like Andy McCarthy have said is the Fourth Amendment doesn't protect you. You have no right in Verizon's information.
And that is the debate. That is the real debate we have, because the question is, do you have a privacy interest or a property interest still in records that are held by other people? When you sign up and you have phone service, you do have a privacy agreement. Your phone company's not supposed to share that with your neighbor.
That doesn't elevate it to a constitutional problem.
Well, the question is whether or not you do have a Fourth Amendment protection in records that are held by other companies. Once upon a time...
But they said in 1979 that they don't. The U.S. Supreme Court said no.
Well, it still has not yet been decided in the modern era.
There was a Supreme Court opinion back in 1979 that specifically said you don't have a privacy interest in the phone company's records on your phone.
In Maryland versus Smith. But the thing is, it was talking about one person and a few records of somebody who was accused of committing a crime. It was never and has never been adjudicated whether you're looking at all Americans, all of their records, all of the time.
But you can see they don't listen to context.
This is an enormous program.
Right?
This is collecting all Americans' records all of the time.
But just number. No, only 20% according to the Wall Street Journal.
Just because they're not very good at it.
But
if they could get it, here's the complaint. If they could get all of them, they would. They're just not very good at getting them. In fact, the Republicans, my opponents, some of them, have been complaining they don't collect all of them just because they're not very good at doing it.
Let me ask you, Kelly, I want to shift to you again. Because you, now, if Senator Paul wins this election, you would be the First Lady. Is it bizarre to think that you and Bill Clinton are vying for the same job?
Yeah, bizarre is one word I would use.
I mean, you got in a little bit of trouble, and Senator Paul got in a little bit of trouble because you described Bill Clinton's behavior as predatory. But I'll tell you, a lot of the viewers that we have agreed with that. And if you just look at the history of the allegations that were brought against him, do you regret that comment?
No, absolutely not. I regret in some ways that people kept asking Rand about it, and he was originally asked on Meet the Press if he agreed with the comment 6 months after I made it.
Why is it not fair game to talk about Bill Clinton's history?
I think it is, which is why I made it. And it was more, actually, though, I think some of it was misstated. My point was more about the hypocrisy in the Democrat Party, that it wasn't more roundly condemned, that this is the party that purports to be the party of women, and this was a workplace situation, a 22-year-old intern, and she was 22. People have now tried to go back and say, oh, no, and the President of the United States. I don't consider that a peer relationship. It's not criminal, but it's certainly something that we would say is not appropriate in the workplace.
Do you think there's a double standard? Do you think that if a female presidential candidate, First Lady candidate, a female First Lady candidate, had any kind of allegation against her of inappropriate behavior with someone who is half her age, do you think that the male spouse would have any shot at becoming the President of the United States?
I have no idea.
I will answer my own question. The answer is no. No. Well, again, Senator Rand Paul's new book is taking a stand, moving beyond partisan politics to unite America.